Boy, am I excited. It's going to be, fantastic players. Hoej, last tournament, he showed up really well with the aggro deck, like SUNSfan mentioned. He kind of brought that aggro deck out of nowhere, and it performed incredibly well, where people started copying him for the bracket stage as well. And Mogwai, we're going to see right away. Game's going to start, and we'll see if the gold works out. I mean, he has to get the tracks early, the paydays, and he has none of that in his hand right now. So
this is an extra special moment for me because I'm essentially replacing Mogwai, and now I'm casting Mogwai. So I feel like I need to do a Mogwai impression at some point just to bring this full circle. But right now, we see Mogwai not exactly getting the explosive opening in terms of getting gold, which is what he would hope for. Needs that gold early and often if he's going to be able to compete with the ramp, red-green ramp on the other side.
And we see the horn stares into his soul there, but only 2 gold, so not quite there just yet. Maybe in a few turns, maybe a few tracks or paydays later. But right now, looking for the, the hand right now isn't looking too great for Mogwai. It's the Viscous Nasal Goo. It's good to play early on, but it's still not, a great card. You kind of have to play it playing Bristleback.
Right. Meanwhile, on the other side of the fence, Hoej already has Stars Align, has an Emissary, also has a Spring the Trap, so a lot of options that are going to be available. Not necessarily this turn, but in the next couple of turns could really ramp things up, pun intended. And Mogwai, here's the thing about the gold decks, right? Even if he finds gold here, there's no guarantee that the right item that they'll want will be available when the shop rolls around, so going to need some help.
Most of the time you do have kind of 3 expensive items. I think there is 2 Vestures and a Horn in this deck for Mogwai, and then you have the Blink Daggers, of course, and then some cheaper items like Cloaks, Stonehall Cloaks, or just Traveler's Cloak even sometimes, or Reftel Signet Ring. So we'll see if it works out for Mogwai. But again, I personally, we saw Dog bring it in the last WePlay tournament. It worked well. He made it past the groups, but I wasn't a big fan. So we'll see if it works out for Mogwai, but still it's going to be, well, there's a track, and there could be a bounty proc. Well, maybe I spoke too soon. It's happening, guys.
Mogwai getting a couple of breaks here, both with the drawing of the track and the Janata proc. Not much Hoej can do to stop this, but
he can double Stars Align into Emissary, but I think it's not the best choice in this lane right now.
Yeah, it's certainly not just because Emissary is only going to be +2. It would not be enough to keep the Lycan alive. It would be a bit of a waste there, at least in this lane. Now, that middle lane, you could start to see the makings of maybe that being the play there.
Now, Emissary isn't always the, you prefer Time of Triumph normally. It just has a better impact value early on than the Emissary. Emissary ramps up over a few turns as you get that buff progressively, whereas Time of Triumph is just boom. You have +4 everything, you cleave, you kill everything on the board, you clear it out, and then you still have that huge amount of damage for the next turn. And if you find Blink Dagger, you can kind of spread it out, whereas Emissary, it's not the same. You can't really spread it out. It's not as impactful early on. So Emissary is still a great play with double Stars Align, but it's not as automatic, I think, for Hoej to just make that play here.
Right. Now, the one thing that is working in Hoej's favor, though, is that Mogwai's list does not run Slay. So you can feel pretty confident that if you do play Emissary, it's likely going to survive for a long time. And we're leading off with the stars. It looks like Hoej says Emissary is good enough.
And the duel also cannot stop it here. It cannot kill a tree, and it is at 10 health and Bristleback. No retaliate, only at 8. Yeah, it'll kill it now, but plus the Emissary buff, it won't be able to do anything about it. So moves up to 8 mana, and then we'll see Emissary coming down turn 2. Not Time of Triumph, but still pretty damn great.
I mean, this is, again, as you talk about like high roll decks, this is exactly what you're looking for. You don't always have to hit the absolute ceiling with your high roll deck, but this is certainly threatening.
And Mogwai, we see he's not happy. He did get the track off, but again, Hoej answered with a high roll of his own. And I said on the panel as well, I think the red-green ramp is obviously the superior ramp, but we'll see if Mogwai can do anything about it. He has Hipfire here to clear the path for tower damage, but again, not very valuable here, I think. I'm going to keep that for later.
Yeah, I think saving the Hipfire is really important because it is a way to provide initiative, and initiative has a big impact later on when that Coup de Grace comes online and Chain Frost available as well in the later turns.
I think you mentioned earlier on the panel where Mogwai was really hoping for Mono Blue in some matchups against Mono Blue in this tournament because the Lich is also a huge tell where if you expect red-green, you're not going to bring Lich because there's so much armor from Time of Triumph, from Treant, from Axe, from Legion Commander where you can't really play Lich and expect to win games because he's just a 7-mana card that's dead in hand basically. It does very little bouncing off of armor because it's not piercing. And this is going to be also a huge punish for Mogwai, bringing Lich into this.
Yeah, and to make matters worse, the fact that Emissary is the thing that Hoej ramped into, it's going to be triggering every turn, and by the time that Chain Frost comes online, it's not even going to dent the creeps at that point. So, again, just unfortunate that Mogwai prepared for what he expected to be a strong blue field and then did not run into it.
Now the Vesture is here for Mogwai. He can stop some damage, but this isn't going to be as impactful as something like Mono Blue that expects to have, a ton of creeps that go very wide but are only at 2 attack, which means that all of them do 0 damage. Dimensional Portal, Prayer on the Weak, all of it does nothing. But with Emissary buffing things up and just in general high attack heroes, it's going to be a lot less impactful for defending your tower. We see Hoej giving up this lane completely. He says, you can have it, I don't mind. I'll just take lane 2 and 3 instead, and we'll see if it works out.
Well, lane 2 is, again, heavily favoring Hoej at the moment. Now, that's a great play by Mogwai to lock out green if green is something that you are not wanting to see. It does slow down the ramp plays that were available there. And in many ways, it kind of shuts down, other than the Emissary tap, anything that Hoej was looking to do.
And Hoej, any normal player would obviously use the Emissary buff. There's no reason not to. There's no downside except you lose initiative. And we see lane 2, which is the lane he doesn't have full control of yet, doesn't have the Emissary down, he doesn't have the big axe and the bigger units coming in. He needs that Berserker's Call for the last lane. It's an insta-kill on the Phantom Assassin, and he clears out that hero. And there's no deployments next turn for Mogwai, which just means that Hoej has full control over that lane as well. So I think that's a great call from Hoej. We'll see if it works out here. And enough magic, finally finding good use.
I think taking the Emissary tap here is fine just because we're only at 5 mana still. So the Berserker's Call gonna be a little ways away. I do like this. The more health you can stack on these creeps, the more resilient they are to Chain Frost. So, and
I think Hoej definitely counts the gold. I think he's the kind of player that uses every single advantage you can get. And obviously, you're playing against a gold, a deck that generates value from gold. You're going to really pay attention to what items he's buying because it can really change your game plan. And you might expect the Vesture to come down to get rid of all this damage or most of it onto this lane 2. Which means that he'll have initiative anyway, so I guess the buff comes in regardless.
So again, this is one of those moments where even when you look at the items that Mogwai brought, right? Vesture is also really strong against the mono blue matchup because of the rapid deploy. You can bounce back from Annihilation. Because of Dimensional Portal and Prey on the Weak, the armor is far more effective. But here in this matchup, when things can get out of control really quickly, I mean, Vesture still helps. It slows things down, but it's not the same level of impact.
Now that was an interesting play. I'm not sure if it was good yet. I'll have to think about that tonight. But he played the Vesture, and because of the rapid deployment, he essentially used Lich's ability. Because the Bristleback was above 6 attack, he drew 2 cards instead of 1. And he gets, he gets the Bristleback next turn anyway because of rapid deployment on the Vesture. But he gets that extra damage going through. So I'm not sure if it was 100% correct, but it's definitely a first in tournament play. So props to Mogwai for trying new things.
Well, to me, that's a sign that Mogwai is potentially abandoning that lane, and it does appear to be the case. So if you're going to abandon, I'm a big fan of that. Now, you do have to worry about Ancient Kill, though, right? That Emissary is still around. As I said, there's no Slay. Coup de Grace can't take it out. The longer it's there, Chain Frost becomes less and less capable of taking it out. So Mogwai's going to have to generate pressure on the other lanes or come back and defend this at some point.
But to do so, I think he's going to need Bristleback to die. So it's all, kind of a few turns down. We'll see what happens. But the Emissary with a Lycan coming in as well, it's going to guarantee the kill this turn. I think there's not much that Mogwai can do. Mana turn 6 still, so Chain Frost isn't there, even if there are units that don't have much armor yet.
Well, he may not need Bristleback to die. This tower is going to go down. So by repositioning Bristleback to the 3rd, perhaps he's saying, I can take this 3rd tower before you race my Ancient in the middle.
Well, I mean, 40 HP, Legion and Beastmaster will have a few things to say about that. We're going to see the Beastmaster's Companion coming down as well. And we'll have stall tools in Primal Roar, in Spring the Trap, or even Spring the Trap in lane 2 instead for the bodies.
I didn't say that it was the right assessment. I'm just saying that might be what the assessment was.
Could be. Duels can come down. The Bristleback is quite healthy and quite strong, of course, with the extra armor as well. And the duel is there. You can duel the Beastmaster before that Companion comes down as well.
I'll do my part, Commander.
All right, so that is a really interesting play in a lane that you have already kind of won.
Well, he's trying to race for the Ancient himself. He does have I believe, yeah, Mogwai doesn't really have any ancient kill potential, doesn't have Oaths or Nevermores in his deck, so it is going to be a bit slower. I think even if it is the the lane 1 priority, you have the chance to win the game first before anything happens in lane 2. It still might be just a tiny bit too slow. Although, if you get the Horn of the Alpha, things might change. It's a lot of, free damage coming in without spending any mana.
Right. That might have just simply been a case of Mogwai trying to play to his outs, if you will, saying, it doesn't look like I have ancient kill potential there now, but I might in the future.
And now Mogwai has to keep initiative here. He can play something like a coup de grace to kill one of these heroes if he wants, but he can't really do much of anything because he needs to kill one of these red heroes in the next lane, probably the Beastmaster, because Time of Triumph is there. The ramp is down, Slamming his favor was played. He has to be very careful about just losing lane 3 outright.
Yeah, it was a very telling play to see the favor go over, so this is the correct call by Mogwai, and we would expect this from him. Again, he's a veteran, knows that needs to be able to do something here. Now, the downside is no black hero available. It would be far more beneficial to do something like coup de grace as opposed to, the duel plus Stonehall. Now, if you slow play this, you could Stonehall Elite in front of the Beastmaster and then duel it, but then you open yourself up to the 2-hero Time of Triumph, which, yeah, ultimately not the right call.
I like this. It allows you to kill both heroes, but of course, Time of Triumph is in hand. Mogwai doesn't have the guarantee, but you have the chance to play Stonehall Elite into the Beastmaster, although there are items and, of course, 8 mana still available. And with 8 mana, you can do a whole lot in red-green.
Yeah, sometimes 8 mana even turns into more because Stars Align is still a thing. So, healing up is the play here for Hoej, and I like that. You kind of stall, wait and see if your opponent's going to do something else with that 4 mana left over. After the first hero goes down, there's no rush.
I will restore order.
If Mogwai had another duel, it wouldn't have been enough after the heal to take it out, so...
There's a chance for a Spring the Trap in lane 2 to get extra bodies for the Emissary, but that's kind of going all in into that lane, but that might be correct. I mean, you're still at 40 HP here. There's a single Bristleback and maybe a Phantom Assassin coming in next turn. This tower's not going down next turn. There's no mathematical possibility of red-black killing this tower next turn with the current.
And instead goes with lane 1.
So he's thinking about the race. He says maybe he has what it takes to race me in lane 1. 17 gold only for Mogwai, so he's missing out on that Horn possibility and the Vesture possibility as well. We see it there, teasing. Oh, so close, but still 2 gold away.
Yeah, I do really like that Spring the Trap there because, a 1-hero Time of Triumph is usually just not a great feeling. Sometimes you do it and it works out, and sometimes you have to do it, but not necessarily optimal there. I like, again, kind of saying, all right, I'm going to slow this down. You still have no answer for my Emissary in the middle. It's a 2-turn clock as of right now, and you have to respect it.
Now, Primal Roar enters the fray. This could be, we saw with Gela, it was very impactful. If you find, there's the exact situation where it gets so much value. The ceiling on the card is absolutely huge. We'll see if Hoej can find that same value here. Could hit the creep and fling away the Phantom Assassin.
Yeah, Primal Roar, it's funny, we talk about red-green being kind of like a high-roll deck. Primal Roar adds a whole nother level to that because it is the kind of card that can go anywhere from being completely dead in your hand to blowing out a game into a complete victory. It's all positional based, obviously, and so sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but...
Chain Frost gets initiative, which is why the Potion of Knowledge could be played without being punished at all. Clears the whole board and still, pushing through damage here. Might not be enough, though, because I think lane 2 might be on a 2-turn timer, even with PA there.
Oh, absolutely it's going to be, because that Emissary is still going to be ticking up, and then there is a fistful of cards at Hoej's disposal. So even before the Emissary tap, you could see a Savage Wolf, a Rose Leaf come down, both potentially. If you play the Druid first, then you get the mana increase, allows you to play the second one. A lot of additional damage available, especially because if you positionally place it next to Lycan, it'll get buffed there as well.
There's a coup coming down instead from Mogwai, just making sure that no red cards can be played in this lane. We still see the Rose Leaf Druid plus a Savage Wolf, and you would say, that's 4 + 4. We don't have 8 mana yet. Because of the ramp capabilities from Rose Leaf Druid, it basically is a 3-mana card. You play it, now you have more 4 mana again. You can play Savage Wolf and just buff everything up. Get maybe a lucky curve here. Don't find it. So Phantom Assassin will survive for one more turn, but this will be a lot of damage, and it's just going to keep on going, and that creep will survive as well.
Right, because it's 2 bodies plus the Emissary activation, it ends up being 11 extra damage just from playing those 2 creeps, which again turns this into a 2-turn clock, because when you count the Emissary next turn, that is an awful lot of damage coming this way.
Now there is a Lich coming in next turn as well to try and block some extra damage. We see 2 creeps as well, so maybe not. I think there's a chance we might see Legion Commander coming into lane 1 next turn instead of lane 2, just to play it extra safe from Hoej, making it a 3-turn timer but still winning the race. Now Berserker's Call could happen here. I'm not sure if you want to though, or Primal Roar rather, because of the curve.
Yeah, because of the curve, the way that Primal Roar would work is the creep would get stunned and Bristleback would be sent flying. Now, there is danger in that play, and I like taking Time of Triumph instead, because if Bristle would have landed in the middle, it would have slowed down the
You mentioned it before,
race.
but you want Bristle stuck in that lane. That Vesture is useless right now in this lane. It blocks some damage, but it's not where you want it to be, which is lane 2, where there's so many units that every single unit you're getting the +3 buff, which makes it that much more impactful.
And Mogwai still staring at purchases that he cannot make, unfortunately. Meanwhile, Hoej very quickly put that Legion Commander in the first lane.
When we talk about the gold synergy, or the gold strategy not being as consistent, and again, the one track was found. But we're seeing every single turn he has just a little bit more gold he would have an item, but instead he finds nothing, and there are paydays in this deck, although we have not seen them. The paydays exist, they're just not being drawn, which is what makes it a bit inconsistent as well.
I believe we saw one earlier, but I thought it was discarded potentially to a coup de grace. I swear I thought I remember him drawing one, but ultimately, when we talk about the difference between the decks, both being high roll, but the reason the gold one is just far less consistent is because it requires more to go your way. You have to get the kills to get the gold. You have to draw your paydays to ramp the gold, and then in the item shop you have to have the right item show up at the right time. There's just a lot more variables at play there.
And now we can see Time of Triumph finally online for everyone, even if you're not ramp. We're naturally at mana turn 8. But instead the coup de grace comes down just to clear that Legion from doing anything at all. He could imagine there might be a Blink Dagger in hand, for example, that could be impactful. So
all right, Mogwai going to push as much damage as possible, but again, will not be enough to take this Ancient, and then we're likely going to see a resolution in this second lane, but Hoej has set himself up nicely to potentially pressure the third lane as well. So we'll see if there's a stall here right now. The nice thing for Hoej is Hoej's in the driver's seat. He could pass here, force Mogwai to do something to respond, and then still come back with his own response, right? He can also be proactive.
I think with 2 blockers, it's not enough to take it this turn. Even with the Emissary buff and the Roseleaf Druid, you don't have any more plays. You don't have a red hero. You can't play those, Stonehall Elites or Bronze Legionnaires or even Primal Roar. So in this case, I think it'll be enough, just block the 2 10s, even with the Roseleaf Druid played. I think the math will definitely check out. And it'll stall for one more turn, and because lane 1 goes first, there's a chance that if Axe can't do enough in lane 1 to stop the siege from Mogwai, he could still win, even though his deck's not really focused on killing Ancients.
So I really like the Censor, even though it's going to die, being played as the blocker here, because if Hoej did have additional plays, this would have potentially ruined one. And the second blocker does come down, and just like you said, not quite enough to finish this off.
Yep. Unearthed Secrets can come down. And because the Gloaty Vandal actually pushed damage in this turn, it calculates it after the whole turn is resolved. It would have still drawn a card, I believe, moving on. But
yeah, I think that they just wanted to maintain initiative coming over here, or perhaps into the next round. It's entirely possible they'll want initiative because they do have Primal Roar and Berserker's Call in hand, and that Axe is likely going to the first lane to try to stall out. So Hoej likely playing the long game there, and I like it.
Now there's 8 HP in lane 2. Primal Roar will, wherever they go, you're still happy because that lane is almost dead, right? You're almost guaranteed, even if, the Bounty Hunter and a creep going to lane 2 to block. 2 creeps there is fantastic as well. It's still going to be enough to deal damage, but the Vesture is going to block a lot of damage, but I still think it's just too much. I mean, the Emissary buff, everything gets wider and wider, and only 8 HP on the tower.
That placement by Axe was not good for Hoej. He would have preferred that to, I think, be you know, in front of one of the heroes, but being on the end here means that Berserker's Call and or Primal Roar not getting maximum value as well.
It's good enough, though. I think Primal Roar on the Bounty Hunter and then Bronze Legionnaire as well as a blocker. Or, yeah, Berserker's Call also helps, or is better probably because you don't interfere with other lanes as well. And, yeah, that'll be enough, I think. There's Time and Triumph here, only pushes 4 more damage. From the Legion, only 1 hero, of course, and nothing's blocking it either. Now, Vesture will come down lane 2, but I think it's just too little too late. No blinks either, so there isn't a chance for this Legion to go to lane 2 to help out there.
Takes the Time of Triumph. And I do like this play because if you do somehow magically survive in this lane 2 and it comes back, this gets siege damage here in this lane, and you have a second Time of Triumph anyway, so... And
there's a blink as well in Hoej's hand, so you can just blink out 1 mana. There isn't really anything that can push this extra damage. And there's the forfeit from Mogwai, so... I talked about it. I mean, I think the gold ramp strategy is viable in some settings, especially if you expect Mono Blue to be rampant in this tournament, but I think it's just less consistent and just riskier in general than the traditional green-red ramp.
Yeah, like I said, there's just more variables involved, right? It has a very, very high ceiling, but you need everything to go your way in order to hit that. Whereas with the red-green ramp, you just kind of have to draw your ramp and then draw a finisher, and that's it, right? You did 2 pieces to the puzzle to make it work, and Hoej did just that. He made it work.
And even if you don't, draw the ramp, it's still a good deck. I mean, you still have Time of Triumphs, Emissaries, some good synergies there with the creeps and stuff, but in the gold ramp, you draw a track in the end game, it doesn't do anything. It's literally dead. And I said it a lot as well. I mean, people that like this deck are going to hate me because when Dog played it, he won games, but I said, don't get used to this. This is not what this deck should normally do. I think it's not that consistent of a deck, but we'll see if Mogwai can turn things around. He still has 2 decks to play, whereas Hoej can only play his final deck, which is a red-black aggro deck, I think, which made him famous in Artifact.
Made him famous the last time around in the first WePlay tournament, and I'm excited to see it in action again. I love Sorla Khan. I'm right there with SUNSfan, right? Like, if I can see Sorla Khan hit some towers, if I can see phase boots, then I am a happy camper.
And it's going to be a very similar deck with the Disciples of Nevermore, with the Oaths. We saw Hoej and Xixo both playing it in that last WePlay tournament that was, very exciting and gave very good results. And this is another reason why. If you can just manipulate the arrows, then you might just win the game anyway.
I was just getting ready to say that Mogwai is likely happy because that Bristle matched up against PA, and that's usually the dream opening, and then you collect gold on top of it, but Disciple denying that. So you still get the gold, but you don't get the buff on the Bristle. You don't kind of like solo take control of that middle lane. So great play by Hoej there, recognizing, the Disciple is worth not letting this go the wrong way.
Jasper Daggers, 5 gold. Could find the straight +2 attack, but could also find value from the erasing of the debuff from Viscous Nasal Goo, which is in hand for Mogwai as well. So we could see that happening this turn. I think Hoej knows all about that interaction. He's going to probably try and wait for it if he can, or unless he needs the damage somewhere else before it happens.
All right, I like this deploy choice by Hoej if it sticks. Sorla Khan going over there to the right has a chance to line up in front of a tower. And with the Legions likely trading, there's also a chance that Sorla will be around the following round as the solo hero. So looking at this positioning, Hoej could decide to develop the Bronze Legionnaire, but it's not really going to do much. Legion Standard Bearer, not going to do much.
It's always awkward when this happens, when there's a hero and that's the only open combat slot and you have a creeper and you're like, what do I do? This is terrible. Can I just kill this hero?
And then to make matters worse, it's a red hero here, so you can't even play the Assault Ladders across lane and try to salvage
it's a feels bad moment.
The mana use.
But on Mogwai's side, he has a track, but there are, Axe isn't dying anytime soon. He has that 2 armor for a reason. The creep will do 0 damage every single turn that it's trying to kill him. And in lane 2, well, you can't track an Evermore, so no gold to be gained there either. So again,
well, there's 1 gold.
Okay, but you can't track it still, so you can't get the bonus, which is what I meant. So still, not a great play for Mogwai. Not going to get him excited, I think.
Yeah, now that does tell me something a little bit about the potential that Mogwai is going to try to fight for this first lane, right? I mean, the track is not necessarily like a free play there. Gold is your bread and butter with this, right? You don't want to throw that track on something that you're not planning on killing, right?
Well, I mean, it's going to die eventually, right? This is a long game.
There is no guarantee that Axe will die. We have seen it before in previous tournaments where, we joke Axe goes into the jungle and he never comes out. There is absolutely no guarantee that Axe will die.
We'll find out. I think he will at some point. It's just statistically. He's a big boy, but he's not that big. I mean, he doesn't have 30 HP. He's killable. And Ku doesn't care about HP either, so we'll find out. But this lane, Sorla does not find the tower. I think Slacks mentioned she has to do her job. Again, failing at it this time. It's what she's made for, really. I mean, the tower damage is fantastic. 1/3 of the tower HP. I think Petrify mentioned in the tweet, he just realized that it's that much. It is that much. I mean, it's surprising, but it's true.
Yeah, Sorla not going to find the tower this time, but like I said, I really liked this deploy because there was a chance that Sorla would have ended up in the open position, but then it was looking like Legions were going to trade, and then Sorla would be left there by herself. Unfortunately, Mogwai is denying that of Hoej.
Jasper Dagger is going to guarantee the kill on Legion as well. So there we see the effect coming in. 10 HP, so even overkill.
Yeah.
2 damage not even needed.
That is some pointy daggers.
And the duel comes down. Again, dueling something like a standard bear is fantastic because you don't take any damage. So it's an easy 2-for-1. Get rid of that extra body. That's also really important. Not just the extra buff on the sides, but also the body.
Savagery can
and yeah, that's a very clean, efficient play there. Duel and Bronze Legionnaire, very low mana cards that are very impactful nonetheless.
All right, so coming into this next round, both players have some gold that they can look to spend. Both players are going to have multiple heroes to deploy. We're going to see Lich and Bristleback on the side of Mogwai, and we're going to see Tinker and Phantom Assassin returning on the side of Hoej.
And Lich going to be a tiny bit better in this matchup. There isn't as much armor. There's no Treant. All these black heroes don't have armor, of course. They would be OP otherwise. But Axe is still there, doing his job with 2 armor. We still have Stonehall Elites and Bronze Legionnaires. We see them both in hand, actually, for Hoej as well. So there's still a chance that the Chain Frost kind of sucks. It's still a pretty powerful card. When I have Lich in draft, I feel really good.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In a limited format, Lich is fantastic. Now, Bristleback, again, looking to go in this first lane. Like I said before, the track kind of telegraphed in my mind that Mogwai was going to fight for this first lane. You eventually want to kill that Axe, but right now, Axe is dodging the danger. No guarantee that Axe will die. We're going to keep track of that. Pun intended.
The March could be strong here. We're going to see if there's any cross lane. Oh, lane 2 looks kind of juicy, but not really. Not going to kill the Bounty Hunter.
I mean, it won't kill it in one turn, but there is a potential for it to do it long term. And even if it slows that down, that might be enough to force Mogwai to put more resources into that middle lane than he would have liked.
You could also try and find a curve on Stonehall Elite or Bronze Legionnaire, and then play the Blink Dagger onto the Tinker. You could get the kill on Bristleback. It's a bit far-fetched, but it could happen. There's a possibility, more than Axe dying anytime soon. Mogwai's side, or the duel could come down as well. That's also an option. So Axe trying to kill himself, but not quite there.
Not quite there.
The suicide did not work out. Does save good old friend Phantom Assassin, and does deal a little bit of extra damage in this lane. But now Stonehall Elite.
Now, I don't remember, but I don't believe Hoej was running Jasper Daggers in his list, so...
He does run one. Yep,
oh,
he runs one.
Does run the one. Okay, so Axe likely going to die now.
So now he's dying.
And there's no Jasper Daggers to pull the track off.
Literally the turn after I tell you he's going to die for sure, he dies. Who would have thought? Stonehall Elite doing its job, eating a really big cheeseburger. This is a big one. This is a record cheeseburger.
That is a 5 Axes, burgers, and fries cheeseburger.
But still the damage goes through. 10 damage in lane 1. The gold is found for Mogwai. He's going to have enough gold to buy a vesture. And almost a horn. He needs 1 gold. He's going to find it, though.
Yeah, if the vesture or the horn are available. Like we said, with these gold decks, sometimes even when things go right, they don't go in your favor. So we see the dagger come down for Hoej. Tinker says, I want out.
Yeah, I don't plan on dying here.
I'm done.
It also opens up March to be played, cross lane maybe from lane 2 to lane 3, there's a chance, or just play at lane 2 and wait for the effect to come in next turn. Of course, you're kind of losing the instant value by not playing into a different lane, but because it has that limited 3 charges, in the end, you're going to get that full value anyway, and you're not losing, you know, there isn't a value over time kind of play from March instead, so it doesn't feel as bad as something like Conflagration or Ignite.
All right, Mogwai has ganks available if he should choose to take them, but I don't really like him from this position here. You want, in my opinion, that Bounty Hunter to continue to pressure this lane. A gank would likely be suicidal unless you're using it on something like a creep, but I'm not seeing a lot of value here as well because it's not going to secure a tower, do anything, you know, amazing or worth a gank. It's a very powerful card. It's the sort of thing you want to get a lot of value out of, so...
This is an awkward hand for Hoej. Not really much to do here. I mean, your Sorla is dying. You can't save her. She's just going to die this turn. There's no Town Portal Scroll. There's no cloaks. There's no anything. The March is great, but you're not really contesting that last lane. It's still, you know, at 40 HP. Your Sorla has done nothing there. Done a terrible job. So, bit of a slow, I think a slower game state than Hoej expected with this aggro deck. He wants to go faster. He wants to do more damage to the towers instead. Mogwai doing a very good job of just slowing it down, keeping his towers healthy, getting his gold. We talked about 25 HP. Now he has to find the horn. We'll see if he does. But this does trade the kill here onto the obviously, you can't really Town Portal Scroll the Lich. That's a lot of damage going through. And you missed a trade on Sorla as well.
Yeah, you're not going to use that scroll on Lich when it is across from a Sorla, so... And, all right, combat resolves. We're going to go to the buying stage and pay close attention to...
Oh, he found it.
He found the horn.
31 gold. He's here to shut us up. He wants to prove this gold deck can work and will do, you know, when you find those tracks early on, you save that gold and you can get the horn on the 4th turn or 3rd turn of the game. It's going to be really impactful. We'll see how impactful exactly. Of course, the dangerous thing about this is that the horn has an activation period. So when you equip it, Coup can come down, and all of a sudden, the horn disappears for 2 turns. So it's tricky. Vesture's a little bit better because even if you kill the hero of the Vesture, he still comes back with rapid deployment, so it's not as bad.
All right, one thing to pay attention to here is Hoej and the timer. As you see, 22 seconds left. We saw the little pop-up on screen. There is a kind voice saying, you know, 30 seconds until forced surrender. Big red numbers. And
I'm surprised. I mean, Mogwai is normally the roper. He's, you know, publicly expressed his problems with roping and just thinking through a bit too much. And with the timer change especially, he could have been punished for that. But instead, it's Hoej. And some people, it's kind of funny in Artifact where you expect aggro players to just be face and just, you know, easy decisions. But here, he's the one that's actually roping.
Easy duel for Mogwai. Picks up the kill, denies any plays, and because of the arrow, grabs some bonus armor as well.
We talked about the coup potentially stopping the horn. In this case, no black hero left, so the horn can come down uncontested. We'll see if he thinks he needs it in that lane, or if he tries to play it somewhere else instead. Again, no initiative in lane 2 means that Bounty Hunter is going to be dying to the disarm from Tinker, which is going to be huge.
Right, so then it comes down to, does Mogwai decide, I want it here or lane 3? And the answer is here, and I like this play. This is a very hard lane to contest because of both Bristleback and now the horn, but by doing it here, you don't have to commit any more heroes here in the future, right? So anytime that you can kind of win a lane with only one hero there, it frees you up for better fighting in the other 2 lanes. Whether it's slowing down your opponent or securing your second tower, I really like that play.
Now, Pickoff could kill Bronze Legionnaire, for example, but still not incredibly impactful right now. You could just see something like an Assault Ladders maybe coming down for some extra tower damage, and an Untested Grunt even to trade with that Gloaty, or that works as well.
One less target to worry about.
All right, so Grunt comes down.
Interesting.
And the phase boots, that's interesting. I assume that's just because the second one's in hand. So you want to get a little bit of health on Tinker now because you know you've given up initiative. There's no point in not just taking advantage of putting as much stuff on the board as possible. And you have the second phase boots, so if you need to play one later, not that big of a deal.
And you play around certain things like gank maybe, or even Lich, for example, is only at 5 HP, so now can't be ganked into the Tinker. You also have things like Hipfire, where if you don't have initiative, it could just be an insta-kill, and even Chain Frost at mana turn 7. So just a heads-up play, just trying to keep his heroes a tiny bit healthy, just in case. And Axe and Sword are going to try and do the impossible. defend against this Thunderhide pack without any kind of Slay in the deck?
Well, not only defend, but that first tower is also at 24 health. So if they can actually survive, or maybe just catch some lucky arrows, catch some lucky positioning, there is actually a chance that Hoej could be saying, I'm going to lose this to the siege, but then if you abandon this lane, I'll just turn around and take it back.
It's going to be tough, though. I mean, it's not going to be easy. There's, 2 heroes and a big boy there for Mogwai. He has only, again, 4 HP needed. The siege damage itself already wins it.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is that this is going to go down, right? But once this... Oh, this Chain Frost is huge.
And the Axe could not do enough with his armor. Again, we talked about black heroes not having any armor, and it shows there kind of the weakness compared to red-green, for example. And all of a sudden, a lot of damage coming through. 20 HP.
So to finish that train of thought from earlier, right, I think the reason that Hoej went so hard here was because with the phase boots, with this tower having only been at 24 health, there was a chance that Hoej could have said, you're going to take this with the siege damage, but I'm also going to generate enough damage in this lane myself that we'll just both lose it, and then I'll win in the second lane. Because if you win in the second, where if Mogwai was going to win in the third, then you win instantly in Artifact, right? You don't finish out a round. Whoever hits their win conditions first just closes out the game. But that Chain Frost denied that completely.
And the heal here on the Bristleback means that it's going to be up next turn once that cooldown on the Horn of the Alpha terminates, which means that next turn he's basically obligated to play Coup de Grace on the Bristleback and keep initiative just to stop that from coming down and getting the, two Thunderhide packs and then 3 and then 4. It gets very quickly out of hand. And it could be an Ancient kill as well.
Yeah, now that the Sorlakan is out of the way, the Town Portal Scroll can be safely used. Allow Phantom Assassin to redeploy next turn. And it's going to be a pretty big deployment. It's interesting. It wouldn't shock me if, depending on how this plays out, Phantom Assassin doesn't end up in that first lane again. And that would be because of the 2 ganks, right? If Mogwai in the next round determines, hey, there's something that I need to kill, we could see Phantom Assassin go back to that first lane.
And the coup here does not guarantee the tower kill this turn, but it does guarantee that Chain Frost does not come down. And Chain Frost would have been really scary in this lane as well. Only 1 armor on Legion. Everything else is unarmored and, bare to the world.
All right. Here, March of the Machines just tickling a melee creep and Legion Commander. All right, Mogwai, 12 gold, probably looking for a Blink Dagger here, right? Because if you can essentially get that Bristle into another lane and then activate the Horn, you are a very, very happy Mogwai at that point.
And Hoej's still having to defend lane 3 while also trying to contest lane 1, for example. So he's split, and it's looking quite bad for him. He does have the Blink Dagger on the Tinker, which means he has some mobility there on a already 1 lane, basically on lane 2, only 2 HP. But yeah, it's not looking good for him. I think Mogwai just had enough of a slowdown in the mid game to say, I know you're aggro, I know you're trying to kill my towers very quickly. I'm going to stop you for a second. Let this game roll out into my Horn of the Alpha, into that value over time from the Horn, and it looks like it's definitely in Mogwai's favor.
Yeah, I mean, it is worth noting that Hoej has not drawn the Oath, right? And has had this Assault Ladders in his hand for, quite some time now. So the tools that you would traditionally use to generate pressure early with this deck were just not available to Hoej. We saw some clunky opening turns, right? Mana turn 3, mana turn 4 were not necessarily the best. So it has made Hoej become very uncomfortable in his positioning. Much like you said, this is not the kind of deck that wants to be defending 1 lane while trying to pressure another. This deck does not defend.
And there's the respect from Mogwai onto the potential for an Ancient kill next turn in lane 2, because there's no deployments next turn. Well, there's Lich, never mind. But still, you could play Assault Ladders and all of a sudden 2 Oaths, for example, or at 9 mana, even 3 Oaths and an Assault Ladder, or, vice versa. And that could all of a sudden be a 1-hit kill onto that, Ancient. And there's some respect there from Mogwai.
With no Blink Dagger, just activate the Horn. No reason not to. Say, hey, maybe I'll push the Ancient with Dinosaurs.
No one will get
You have to look for a win condition here. I'm not entirely sure it's going to be a second tower. I mean, this tower is still very healthy. You have to deal or, break through this wall of Thunderhide packs, and lane 3 is looking even worse with 2 heroes. Time of Triumph not drawn yet, or actually it has been drawn, so even worse for Hoej. I think his real potential is just the Ancient Kill next turn here with good draws, but...
Wow, and the time actually comes down here. That is interesting.
I guess he knows he might just want to play Coup with initiative in lane 3 because there's only 1 hero there.
Yeah, I suppose that if you are 100% locked into I'm going to play either Coup or gank there, but I would have expected... Well, this is just... Yeah, this is...
Mogwai clears the lane, keeps initiative, has Coup for the next lane, and that's going to be almost game. It's going to be 4 more damage coming through in lane 3. Coup will kill that Phantom Assassin. There will not be mana for anything else. It's going to be only 2 mana up, and no 2 mana plays available for Mogwai, but it'll be really close. Jasper Daggers as well can add 2 extra damage, but still not quite enough to seal the deal here, but he's in a dominating position right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, Coup or could have been gank if there was a Janata proc, did not come down. So
it would have been 1-off. Or no, there's the arrow as well from the keep, so yeah, it would have been game. But can't get that lucky in life.
Yeah.
The gank is discarded, and the damage is almost there. We see the Jasper Daggers could come in here for 2 extra damage, and like you said, the +4 from Janata would have been enough, but does not proc, so RNG punishing Mogwai just a tiny bit.
Just a tiny bit. I'm sure that Mogwai's okay with it, considering the way that this game has went.
And now there could be an attempt. Yeah, Hoej has to try and go for it, but
I really like this.
Oh, it's his only out. It's literally his only. He has to find 2. He has to find 2 Oaths, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
There's a creep as well that can block. Not going to block much. Only the Stonehall Elite. Now, if he finds 2 Oaths, there's a chance he can win this. I believe the math might check out. Not going to find them. Not going to find them at all. So I think that's game.
I really liked that play by Mogwai of putting the Lich in the first lane, knowing that you have gank in your hand. Would have potentially opened up some additional plays here.
No weapon to equip onto the Lich, though, so it can't really kill the Sorla. And the Axe is obviously too healthy as well. But still, damage will not be there. Assault Ladders and Untested Grunt, the only possibility.
And Lich is hungry enough to eat a dinosaur here and draw some cards.
And there's the forfeit from Hoej. I think he knows that at this point there's not much he can do. And that was just aggro not being quick enough. I mean, Mogwai was able to stall the game out in the early game, take control of it, get that, the gold payoff working as well, gets the Horn of the Alpha quite early, and finds the, just the value from the Horn of the Alpha quite early on, and just the control, because it is a gold ramp deck, but it's also a control deck in some ways where it has a chance to stall out against aggro.
Yeah, it's interesting because traditionally you think of aggressive decks being consistent and being the kind of deck that you use to punish another deck. But in this case, Hoej had the clunky start, so.
And we're going to see an all-new deck now from Mogwai. The, again, has not shown up in, actually it did show up in a tournament in Seed Story Cup 10. Terrence did bring it, the blue-black control deck. It did not work out for him. It was quite close, though. So we'll see if Mogwai can find the tracks early, which he has,
yes,
and get that gold rolling.
And got the Janata proc. So everything coming up Mogwai here in the opener. But yes, you are correct. At least during the last WePlay tournament, we did not see blue-black at all. And I am excited to see this blue-black control deck here.
15 gold already for Mogwai. Not going to find much more than that. Of course, Phantom Assassin will not kill Axe because of the armor, and Luna will do, well, very little against the Legion Commander.
I mean, just looking at these hands, I would be very happy if I was Mogwai. Not only did you get the early track kill, but you also have an at any cost already locked down. You have an Annihilation, which we know is really important to find already locked down. So all the tools to stall and turn this into exactly what Mogwai wants are available.
And against aggro, at any cost is the one single card you want to see as often as possible in this matchup. I think after the WePlay tournament, Hoej mentioned it. He said, I hope no one brings at any cost to the bracket stage because that would be, kind of the nail in the coffin for my deck because it just clears everything. It's able to clear all these, 4 HP creeps like the Disciple of Nevermore, like the Bronze Legionnaire, like the standard bear, for example, and just swings the game completely in the favor of the blue-black player because of that stall element.
All right, so no plays there by Hoej for, obvious reasons.
Hipfire is fantastic here. Gets to clear the axe. Phantom Assassin survives, pushes damage as well, and keeps initiative, so it does it all.
And keeps initiative, and that is important coming over here because this is a situation where you might consider at any cost, depending on what Hoej plays.
But let's wait for a play to be made, because this is where it really, really hurts if you're a red-back player.
Oh.
Hoej's stalling. He gets the Stonehall play. He's going to save the Sorlikon.
Very heads-up play by Hoej, because I do think that Mogwai was being a little bit greedy there, saying, all right, we'll wait for them to play a creep, and then we'll blow this up. It would have left just the Legion Commander, but Hoej says no. Sorla is going to survive and hit the tower, and so Mogwai passes, and I like that pass.
And this is the level that I want to expect from these players. Hoej gets a secret shop Stonehall plate. And that's not an item you say, I'm going to buy this because it's going to win me the game. It's not a Horn of the Alpha. It's a, it's a Stonehall plate. But because of this interaction, I think he 100% thought about this card being available in this turn and being one of the cards that can really stall him out in the early game, and he bought the Stonehall plate because of it. I think that's fantastic to see.
So Hoej gets a lot of damage in on that tower because Sorla finally did her job. But both of those heroes are going to be at 1 health, and so with the passive from Luna coming around this next turn, there is a chance that one of them is going to die.
There's a high chance we see March of the Machines play here from Hoej into lane 2. We're going to get a ton of value in all these creeps. I'm going to be 2-turn timer on most of these creeps as well. We'll have to see what develops in lane 1, but I think Hoej definitely wants to try and slow down lane 2 a tiny bit. Took a lot of damage already, and it's pretty wide as well, and March of the Machines will definitely play against that.
Yeah, and I'm going to amend what I said earlier. There's a 100% chance that one of them is going to die because there was no melee creeps that spawned there. So that is great for Mogwai that occurred. And we see a gank and a Berserker's Call picked up by Hoej.
And the March would also get the upkeep kill on Phantom Assassin, so even better than I thought initially. 19 gold wasn't in hand for Mogwai in that chopping phase, but only found the Blink Dagger, so you mentioned it.
Right.
The chop could get cluttered with items you don't exactly want when you have the exact gold you need to buy the item like Vesture or Horn. But in this case, does not find it, so Blink Dagger instead. Not a bad item, but definitely not an item that's going to swing the game in your favor.
Yeah, it's not as impactful as Vesture would have been on that turn specifically, but Mogwai, again, still has all of the tools that you need to stall this out. So Hoej is on a bit of a clock. I mean, we know this because we can see Mogwai's hand, but I think that Hoej's smart enough to know that, you really need to put the pressure on this blue-black deck, because not only do you have at any cost, not only do you have Annihilation, but this list does have the Eclipses and the Chain Frosts coming from the signature cards as well. There's just so many ways this blue-black list has to slow things down.
Now, Sanctum comes down, which means that, there isn't a smash in Hoej's list. It's a bit, too proactive to have a smash which is more reactive, more for a control version, whereas aggro wants to just deal damage and not care about anything else. So Sanctum going to get a ton of value. We see Foresight in hand as well to cycle, but initiative will be huge here. If Axe comes in with Berserker's Call next turn onto that Ogre, the Ogre is bye-bye. Or, of course, yeah, I like this too.
No, I like that gank a lot because, as I said, one of those heroes was going to die from the passive, but now it's none of them. So far I've said one might die, and then I said one will for sure die, and now none is dying. So I am a liar 3 times.
That's bad, Charmer. You gotta fix that. You can't be lying to our viewers. That's terrible.
I apologize.
And gank, if there's one hero that goes and pairs with gank, that is Phantom Assassin. She is just the absolute most efficient ganker in this game, and we see why here. Just 10 damage and just enough health to survive a ton of different combat trades against a lot of heroes, and it showed, especially against blue. I mean, blue's just a weak color in general.
I mean, strong color, but weak heroes. Their heroes do not go to the gym.
And we're looking at 5 mana. Lich can do very little to stop Sorla. Which very little means nothing at all. You have Coup, you have Chain Frost, but that's too high up the mana totem pole. Just nothing to react here, so you don't even need a Disciple. I mean, it's just an easy win here.
Yeah, there's no reason to commit anything else unless, you're trying to open yourself up for an Ancient Kill later. But with both of these heroes so low on health, I don't think that that's you know, Hoej's mindset here.
Well, I mean, there's no deployments next turn, so unless an Ignite is found, you could have used Disciple to trade with the Lich. Lich would die, and you had Sorla and Disciple, you know, doing their own thing in lane 3. And if you don't pay attention to that, all of a sudden, 2 turns later, you're dead.
Yeah, having not seen a single Ignite yet played, though, I think you have to respect it. And I like this. I like this play by Hoej. Just don't commit extra resources, take the tower kill, and
those creeps would not have helped either.
Yeah, would not have helped.
So Hoej, you know, he has a crystal ball of his own. He's been part of the circus. He's come back to play Artifact instead, and the initiative is in hand for Mogwai though, which means that all of a sudden Berserker's Call is looking a bit trickier to kill that ogre before any plays are made.
Well, if things stay the way they are, that axe isn't going to end up over there at all. Yeah, it looks like Hoej is pivoting to the middle lane, saying, I've already got Phantom Assassin here. I don't want to deal with that ogre.
And it makes sense. I mean, March would kill both of those creeps. We talked about the 2-turn timer, killing, you know, the creeps over 2 turns because they're at 4 health. Both of these creeps are dying. Conflagration will have a little something to say to the Phantom Assassin, not enough to kill it though. And it does stop kind of the Disciple threat though in lane 2.
Yeah, at least the long-term Disciple. So Disciple will likely just get held at that point and used on the turn that Hoej looks to finish that tower off. Again, we haven't seen the Oath, right? It was kind of the staple, the poster child of the Hoej list. The last WePlay tournament has not yet shown up.
And we're at mana turn 6, which means a lot of different plays that can change the game completely, like Annihilation, like Coup, like Berserker's Call are up. So if Mogwai decides to maybe heal the Ogre and blink him to lane 2 to try and stop anything from happening there, it means that Berserker's Call can come down and just kill him, or even the Coup. Although I think Berserker's Call would be maybe a bit better this time to not discard anything.
Oh, I feel better.
Me too.
All right, so the Ogre is healing up, lives to fight another day.
And you have to respect it. I mean, you could see a Disciple and an Oath coming down next turn, for example, in lane 2, or you know, in the next lane, and all of a sudden that tower is almost down, and you already lost lane 3. So,
yeah, I mean, Mogwai didn't see the Oath played against him in that first game. Has not yet seen one here as well. So it might just be saying, you know what, I don't want to see even like 2 Oaths, right? That's a pretty big swing. So.
This is Mogwai, I think, definitely blinking here, going to respect the pressure in lane 2. Even if it means Ogre dying, it still means that Berserker's Call is played instead of a Disciple or the Oath, and you have a chance to contest anyway. If he doesn't, maybe doesn't have Berserker's Call or Coup de Grace or Duel in hand, which is a possibility.
Never had a chance.
Right, Mogwai's thinking, you know, I got 3 heroes coming back next turn, and I just need to stall because once that happens, I've got Eclipse coming my way, Annihilation coming my way, Chain Frost. Again, all of the tools that you want as the control player are on Mogwai's side. You just have to get there. So
there's Berserker's Call. You push 12 damage. You have the Town Portal Scroll for Solar, for example, if you want to, you know, get her out of lane 3. If you think there isn't really a potential to take that Ancient instead.
Yeah, and I fully expect that we'll see that Town Portal Scroll come down the following turn.
But I still think this lane 2 is just a tiny bit too healthy at this point in the game. I think this is the turning point where control really takes over in terms of gold.
Actually, I take it back. I have to feel like this might be a hip fire.
Yeah, and it guarantees the 25 gold for that horn if it's found. Payday instead, so that is a greedy play, but I think it does make sense. I mean, it guarantees the horn almost for sure, basically, or a Vesture.
If you like gold, then you like greed. So Mogwai choosing instead to go with the Payday, and I don't dislike this play. The nice thing about the hipfire was just that it would have made sure that Sorla died while also maintaining initiative going into the next round, whereas now that's not necessarily the case, but hey, it's hard to turn down 44 gold.
Now, because this blue-black gold deck does not have Kana, it means that all of a sudden with double Marching the Machines in lane 2, even if a blue hero is played there to annihilate, it could still get Berserker's Call, and it's still, you have no chance. Even Axe can even kill multiple heroes if he gets lucky enough, because those Marching Machines will soften them up quite a bit with that 4 damage coming in. So yeah, I like this.
I like this a lot.
I mean, it means that if Mogwai wants to annihilate lane 2, he has to contest lane 1 because there's 3 heroes coming in and Sorla as well. So
the other reason that I really like this play is because you're looking at Mogwai's lineup, right? only 2 blue heroes. So even if you're expecting Annihilation, you know that with Ogre having died last round, you can only annihilate 1 lane. Splitting this up and putting the pressure in 2 different places means you cannot annihilate them both. I like this a lot. Now the downside is Chain Frost is also available.
There's 3 armor on Sorla though, so maybe not fantastic. We'll find out. And I take it back. Luna is with a Stonehawk Cloak, so she is at 14 HP, which is going to be. It should be more than enough to tank down that Berserker's Call if it comes down from Act. So I take it back. Normally, these blue heroes that aren't are quite low on health. In this case, that early Stonehawk Cloak from Mogwai was able to keep this hero quite healthy.
And they lock him in, coming down.
Now, initiative here for Mogwai, which means that Ku can come down or Chain Frost.
Now, this is where we get to see, oh my, 2 Vestures bought by Mogwai. That is very, very big.
That's one way of stopping the Oath.
Yeah. That is, well, technically, it really just slows it down because the Oath is +4 and the Vestures are 3 armor on the tower. So, long term, the Oath is a little bit more value, but big pickup by Mogwai to get not 1 but 2 Vestures out of that purchase phase.
And we'll see. I mean, there's a Sanctum as well in this lane, so even scarier from Mogwai. Going to really be able to use all of his mana to defend here. He has the Ku and he has a Chain Frost. He can use both. He can kill the Sorla with Ku if he wants, and then Chain Frost for initiative for lane 2, and then Annihilate. So it's looking really good for Mogwai here.
Yeah, and because of the way that Chain Frost bounces, if you start by placing it on the creep all the way to the left in that first lane, you'll clean up all of the creeps and keep the initiative. That would be a pretty devastating play. Now, you don't have to kill those creeps because you have the Vesture, but not taking the risk, right?
I think you might have to place it on Legion, right? Or else you might just end up without any targets to bounce before it kills Legion.
I mean, if you're really worried about killing the Legion, but in my mind, I would just want to consider getting rid of. Yeah.
Well, that was unfortunate.
I would
have expected a Ku first on Sorla, but then you risk the Annihilation being discarded, the Chain Frost being discarded, so it's a lot riskier. But I don't know. Sorla's still up. We'll be dying to the Phantom Assassin anyway, but could have been a bit cleaner, although a bit riskier for Mogwai.
And now, unfortunately, Hoej does not have a lot of great options for this lane. Boots and then swapping, in theory, could pressure a fair amount of damage, but with the Sanctum there, Mogwai would have answers.
Hipfire should come down onto Legion at this point. Phase Boots would stop that, but...
Just what I needed.
All right, so the Phase Boots do come down.
I would have probably preferred to see Phase Boots on the Legion, and then you just swap anyway, but you keep Legion alive into a Hipfire, for example, and you know your opponent has to play for initiative. Mogwai has to play for initiative because lane 2 is a 3v1 with Luna, dying viciously.
Right. The only reason that I think Hoej likely went with the Phase Boots on the Sorla is if this game is going to go the long haul, right? If it's going to be dragged out long term, the value is just much better having it on a Sorla, and it doesn't look like this one is going to be ending in the next round or 2, so...
Well, I mean, you're playing an aggro deck. You may be expected to end a bit sooner, but...
Well, we maybe expected it, but it's not what's happening right now, so...
And we could still see the Oath here. The Oath, well, now it won't kill the Phantom Assassin, never mind, but maybe Disciple's a bit better. Has the option to still play cards in the next few turns. You don't really know what's going to happen, especially with a Vesture there. It's going to be tricky to take down this tower, but Disciple could be the play. Initiative still in favor for Mogwai, so doesn't even need to play the Hipfire unless he really values it. In this lane, the Tinker Disarm won't do much either. And that's just going to be just some tower damage coming in from Sorla, but this lane will definitely be Annihilation coming in. Initiative is in favor of Mogwai. No thought process needed.
Just slam dunk that Annihilation. And we are on to the third lane. So great timing on that Annihilation because, yes, you give up initiative whenever you use it, but then you come right back and... it doesn't matter if your opponent doesn't have a hero in the next lane, and then on top of it, you got a bunch of gold from the Annihilation, and you can turn around and play the Payday.
And these are the draws you need. I mean, when you find the Tract early, the Paydays early, you get able to control the game, and all of a sudden you have, 2 Vestures already in hand. You could buy a Horn. You might already your whole item deck maybe. It gets really scary for Hoej. He missed his window of opportunity, which is a chance to win the game early with aggro, with Solarcon, Assault Ladders, the Oath as well. So maybe we talked about it. The turning point was that that 6-mana turn. Hoej couldn't capitalize, and now this is Mogwai slowly taking control. Towers are still quite healthy for Hoej, but it's going to change very quickly in the next few turns.
Yeah, Hoej eventually did find a copy of the Oath, but it was unfortunately very late in the game. So
and there's some damage coming in. Hipfire for the initiative will come down, pushes extra damage here as well, down to 19 in lane 3. And only Sorla to try and take down a tower by herself this turn.
So the one thing that Hoej has working in his favor, as I said before, is that Mogwai is doing a great job of not losing, but is not like pressuring yet. Now we know that it's likely going to change because at 51 gold, Horn of the Alphas, I mean, you have to assume they're on the menu, but Hoej still has a little bit of time to try to push some damage. Now, Vesture slows things down a lot, but if you coup the target that has the Vesture on it when you have some opportunities.
Well, more importantly, you have Solarcon does 14 damage to towers, correct?
Yes.
Marching Machine will do 4 damage. This tower goes on to 14. You have a Blink Dagger in hand. Well, never mind. There's a coup.
Yeah, there's a coup.
Well, that's the end of that story. It ended badly for Hoej. So the coup comes down. There was a chance to maybe win the game that way, but there was direct kill there in hand for Mogwai. So the coup comes down, and now that's just probably game over for Hoej, to be honest. I mean, 2 Vestures and just total control. It's going to look really bad for Hoej trying to fight back into this game.
Yeah, Mogwai, I think, was on the same train of thought that you were, right? And just sniffed it out, said, I can't let you do anything to get to that middle lane. And in theory, Mogwai could have waited for the Blink Dagger to come down and then played coup before it was activated, but this also means that Hoej wasn't allowed to play any other cards as well, so I do like this.
And there we could just see, yeah, double Blink to lane 2 maybe for the extra damage. Maybe not needed. You have 1 Vesture in each lane instead. Just keep them both healthy. Stonehawk Cloak for that value over time as well. And yeah, just pushing both towers down. There's going to be 4 heroes coming in for Hoej next turn, but still, against 2 Vestures, it's really tough to do anything, and the Vesture stops any damage from Marching Machines as well.
But, as I said, if you have a target that has Vesture on it, but it gets removed with a coup de grace, right? The armor goes away that's on the tower. So if all 4 of these heroes are deployed in a lane where there's a Vesture and there's not enough like reinforcements, we could see a window of opportunity open up for Hoej here. It's really going to depend on what Mogwai does with his own deployments and where the creeps go here. So we have 2 creeps going mid. I think that actually benefits Mogwai a lot.
Definitely. I mean, that is the lowest tower, basically. And there's still 2 deployments from Mogwai as well. We see 24 gold in hand, so just 1 off that Horn that is still in the item deck for Mogwai, so a bit unfortunate for him. And we see both players, the timer's going quite low.
Is it 1 off the Horn? I thought Horn was 24 and it was Blade that was 25.
Horn is 19 and 25. That's the item ranges.
Yeah, you're right.
And there's the all-in from Hoej.
Yeah, and I think that you have to do that if you're Hoej. You know that that first lane has Ignite, Conflagration, Sanctum, the Ogre. Now, the one downside to this here is that because you have to go all in on the second lane, this means that we might actually see this Ogre blink to the middle, right? And then that gives you 2 targets with a Vesture on it.
There's a chance for Annihilation to come down. There's also a Bolt in the deck from Mogwai. Little known fact, he is playing a single Bolt in this deck, even though it is blue, black, gold control, and he could not find it, not this turn, but next turn, that could be the win condition as well. The Eclipse is only at 5 charges, so not going to do all that much. Gank, not effective here as well.
I make this look easy.
Yeah, now that Luna is in place in this first lane, I would not be shocked. Yep, there goes the blink. Again, heads up play by Mogwai, knowing, hey, coup de grace is a really big problem if it goes off here.
Now, this is tricky. I mean, you have the coup on the Vesture, for example. You have the disarm onto a creep to clear that avenue of damage as well. And then you have still 3 mana available for things like the Nevermore or the Oath. Gonna go on the Ogre instead. Maybe playing around something like Annihilate. Could have been a bit scarier than the Vesture even, but...
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you're going to remove, you know, one of those targets, you probably target the blue one because they've got more panic buttons, right?
I'm ready to serve, Commander.
And this is just, I think, a slower, you know, play, not trying to win this round, but maybe trying to win next round from Hoej. He's going to clear a lot of this board. He can put down something like a Blink Dagger on Axe to clear that Tyler state as well.
And I think that this is a good gank.
Yeah, really good.
Again, very heads-up play by Mogwai. Very just clean. And, you know, we were kind of talking about it earlier. Mogwai was casting in the last WePlay tournament, but is a very good player, very competitive, and publicly may not have been playing a lot of games as of late, but I know that privately he was 100% prepping for this event.
And the lane looked great for Hoej, but all of a sudden now it's looking a bit worse. Vesture's still going to be online. Legion Commander and that creep also dying. You haven't developed really an Oath or anything else really, so it's still looking pretty grim. I mean, you still have the chance to maybe coup that Phantom Assassin next turn and get rid of that Vesture anyway, but this lane's going down for sure. And lane 1 is looking scary. You have to play Sword lane 1. I mean, you have to respect it. There's a chance for the Bolt, so you can't really just say, you know, oh, just leave him, let him win that, because he's going to definitely win it if he draws the Bolt.
Now,
To die for.
what's interesting here is that Hoej, given the right board setup, right, if he draws the other copies of the Oath, might have enough damage to push through eventually. Like, one way you can go over Vesture is just playing 3 Oaths.
So this might just be game. I mean, well, it's close. I guess the coup can stop the Horned Hero, and the Bolt will be close, but not quite enough.
Yeah, that Bolt was a really big pickup.
But now, if Hoej waits for that coup, then he can just lose to, you know, losing initiative anyway. So it's going to be a tough one here for Hoej to pilot.
The real question is Mogwai going to time out?
6 seconds. That's scary.
Hoej is at 16. Mogwai is at 6.
These are some real ropers. I'm sure Sunsfan loves these guys.
These are SunsFan's favorite players. I mean, he said so himself. Hoej, his boy, 16 seconds.
He's not his boy anymore. I mean, he's off the list. He's grayed out. But in this case, now we see it. 13 seconds for Hoej. So this is going to be, okay, you got to stop thinking, Hoej. Just do something. If he coups now, then Horn could be playing on the other hero, and then that's just game with both, right? And Sanctum as well. So I mean, yeah, this is just over. Yeah, the clips as well. Piercing damage just kills the Sorla anyway. So yeah, this was long over. I think there was nothing that Hoej could do against 2 heroes.
Oof. The multicast as well. Insult to injury.
And the Bolt here to win it. So talking about Mogwai's deck maybe not being optimal, but it was able to slow down the aggro siege attack from Hoej just enough in both of those wins to, you know, mana turn 6 where it really turns around. He was able to slow it down and do just enough to, again, work on that gold base, get those horns, get those Vestures to slow it down even more with the armor on the tower, and just win the game that way. So congrats to Mogwai, playing what Rob said were suboptimal decks, and look at that. 2-1 win over one of the favorites for this tournament, Hoej.